Good morning and welcome to this, the WP Builds Weekly WordPress News. This is number 124. It covers the WordPress news for the week commencing the 20th of July 2020, and it was published on Monday the 27th of July 2020. My name's Nathan Wrigley, and if you wouldn't mind sharing this podcast, we'd be most appreciative. There's a bunch of black buttons should you be listening to this on the wpbuilds.com website. As I say, there's some black buttons underneath the player. If you use those, there's options to share it all over the place. One thing that we've noticed is if you go to Apple Podcasts and give us a review, that really does help, so appreciate those. Other options would be to go to wpbuilds.com/subscribe. Over there, you're going to find all sorts of ways of keeping in touch with us. We produce lots of content each week, and there's two forms to fill out. One will alert you when we produce that content, and the other one will alert you whenever we find a WordPress deal. So that might be something to do with plugins, hosting themes, etc. We'll alert you so that you don't have to subscribe to millions of lists. That's wpbuilds.com/subscribe. Over there, you'll also be able to join our Facebook group of over 2,600 very friendly WordPressers, and there's options to follow us on Twitter and so on and so forth. Another page to go to would be wpbuilds.com/deals. It's a curated list of deals which stay there 365 days of the year, significant amounts off. It's filterable and searchable, so if you're in the market for something WordPressy this week, maybe go and check that out. Another thing to say is we do produce a little bit of content each week. Every Thursday, a podcast episode. Every Monday, the news that you're listening to now. But also every Monday, 2 p.m. UK time, you can find a live version of this news, and I'll be joined by notable guests each and every week. Having said that, though, I'm actually having a week off this week, and so the whole thing will be led by Paul Lacey. You can find it at wpbuilds.com/live, 2 p.m. UK time on Monday. Or head over to the Facebook group and search for the link at 2 p.m. Paul's going to be joined by Sabrina Zidane, Akshat Chowdhury and Kirsty Burgoyne. So hopefully that'll be a nice show. I wish them all very well. The other thing to say is we're taking a pause this week because I'm on holiday for our usual 2 p.m. session on a Tuesday with Sabrina, who I've just mentioned, our 0 to 10k install series. So we're having a bit of a week off this week. Last thing to mention, wpbuilds.com/advertise. If you would like to help the WP Builds podcast stay on the air, it is most appreciated. You could have your product or service put in front of a WordPress specific audience. A little bit like these guys. Are you tired of unreliable or slow hosting? If so, check out Kinsta, who takes managed WordPress hosting to the next level. Powered by the Google Cloud Platform, all their plans include PHP 7, SSH and 24/7 expert support. Try a demo and get 60 days free at kinsta.com. And A/B split test. Do you want to set up your A/B split test in record time, like in a couple of minutes? Use your existing pages and test anything against anything else. Buttons, images, headers, rows, anything. And the best part, it works with Elementor, Beaver Builder, and the WordPress block editor. Check it out and get a free demo at absplittest.com. Okay, let's get stuck into the news, shall we? Each and every week, we divide our WordPress news up into different categories, and each week, should there be any, we start with WordPress Core. And there's three little bits today. The first one is to say that WordPress 5.5 Beta 3 is now available. The hope is to ship WordPress 5.5 very soon on the 11th of August, so there needs to be help in order to get it through its beta testing phases. There were 43 bugs that have been squashed since Beta 2, which feels like it was just a couple of days ago. They are categorized as follows. Plugin and theme versions are now shared in the emails when automatically updated. REST API routes without a permission callback now trigger a doing it wrong warning. There have been over 23 Gutenberg changes and updates, and a couple of things to do with dash icons as well. As always, your help and support in beta testing is greatly appreciated, so head over to the link in the show notes, and there are some options for how you can become a WordPress beta tester. The next piece is over on WordPress Tavern. Justin Tadlock writing a piece entitled Theme Authors Can Pass Data to Template Files in WordPress 5.5. And it starts with the lines, Theme developers can finally rejoice because this has finally happened. It seems like it's been going on for a very long time. Allegedly, Scott Kingsley Clark was the first person who requested this back in 2012, and over the years the ticket has been sort of squashed and then brought back to life and defended and so on and so forth. A couple of weeks ago, it feels like, it was announced that it was possible to update themes via a zip file, and also in the last few weeks, Justin tells us, there was an actual fix for an Internet Explorer 6 hack, which he says in italics was progress. Now, this is important for plugin and theme developers. I won't go into the details. My suggestion would be, if you are a plugin or theme developer and don't really understand this, have a look at what Justin has written. But it's all about the scope of PHP variables and what's allowed and what is not allowed. And Justin writes, for years, theme developers wishing to pass data to template files have had to use less than ideal workarounds. And so this fixes that problem. All of the WordPress template loading functions now support an additional parameter of args, which allows theme authors to pass along an associative array of data to load to the loading template. And the functions that support this new parameter are get header, get footer, get sidebar, get template part, locate template, and load template. So probably quite important if you are creating themes. But Justin does make the point towards the end of the article, well, is this a little bit on the late side, with WordPress about to really turn everything on its head with its new theme system, which we hope will be coming before the end of the year? Maybe this is something which has been fixed but won't be much use to anybody for any great length of time. We'll have to wait and see. The last one in the community section is Sarah Gooding, this time on WordPress Tavern, with an article entitled WordPress 5.5 to remove Hulu from list of supported oEmbed providers. It looks like Hulu has been an option to embed. I confess I haven't used it ever. You've been able to embed via their oEmbed API, but apparently that is now broken. Now, surprisingly, quite surprisingly to me anyway, this has been included in WordPress. The option to oEmbed Hulu has been included since December 2009, so a really long time ago, since WordPress 2.9. But now this is broken, and it doesn't sound like Hulu are going to fix it. They've just killed this API connection in some way, shape or form. So if you've been using Hulu links, if that's a significant part of what you've been up to, you may need to go back and look and fix things up. The next section is entitled Community, and I've got several pieces for you under the umbrella of that this week. The first two are for the same subject. The first one is a direct link to JetPackCRM.com, and the second one is Justin Tadlock over at WordPress Tavern and his take on it. So it appears that we've got a rebrand. We had a CRM plugin that was bought by Automatic, and I cannot believe it was nearly a year ago. It feels like just the other day I was mentioning this on this news, and they have rebranded Zero BS CRM into JetPack CRM. Now, the theory behind this really is all about the recognition in the WordPress space and beyond of the words Jetpack. Obviously, love it or hate it, Jetpack is something that everybody knows the name of in the WordPress community, and the idea is that this will launch it into the stratosphere. So the duo of Stott and Heyday have been publishing quite a few updates recently. They launched 3.0 in December. The journey appears to be reasonably slow. That is to say, they've managed to get from 2,000 to 3,000 installs. But in the post that Justin created, they do say that, well, it's not like an SEO plugin which you install on 15, 100 different websites. This is just a one-off thing. So each installation is significant. So this is new. It says on the website jetpackcrm.com, manage your contacts the right way. You have it under control. Business is good, and you can see at a glance you have exciting potential. So if you're in the market for a CRM and you've been looking around for a WordPress solution, well, this appears to be a good option. Currently, it stands way behind the big player in the space, which is HubSpot, but with 100,000 installs, it does demonstrate that there is some room for maneuver for JetPack CRM. There's quite a lot of integrations that you can grow with. So, for example, there's things like Twilio, WooCommerce, ConvertKit, Stripe, Gravity Forms, Aweber, WorldPay, PayPal, and Google for a start. And it looks like the freelancer option is the cheapest of all at $11, going up to Elite at $30 per month. Okay, maybe go and check that out. If you have an interest in accessibility, then this very long piece by Justin Tadlock over on WordPress Tavern will be of great interest to you. It's entitled Why Accessibility Matters for WordPress Themes and Their Users. And as I say, it is a very long piece. I'm going to struggle to summarize it, but essentially it's a piece exploring where WordPress is at right now in terms of accessibility. Are we behind the curve? Does it even matter? There was a comment fairly near the top of the piece saying that some of the more popular themes in the WordPress space don't appear to acknowledge accessibility as an important concern. Therefore, it can't be an important concern. And of course, that seems to be a little bit wide of the mark. This article makes the point that really you've got to put yourself into the shoes of other people and try to see things from their perspective. And with that awareness in mind, it does become a little bit more urgent to make things as accessible as possible. Now, this obviously covers a broad spectrum of issues, tons and tons of ways that you can make your WordPress site accessible. And these are obviously being tackled by the accessibility team, who've got a fairly good handle, I would say, on what they need to do, but progress does appear to be slow. They've got the option of speeding things up a little bit, but that of course causes ire and dislike from theme authors who then have to go back and change things. Anyway, lots of different voices brought into this article, lots of quotes from different people coming from different perspectives and different angles. And as I said, if accessibility is something that is of interest to you, this is certainly worth a read. The next one comes from the WP Shout website. The piece is entitled A Great Comparison of Local Development WordPress Options. It's written by David Hayes. It's actually a very, very short summation of a much longer and more authoritative Delicious Brains article. And if you actually click on the link in my show notes and then go to the bottom of the piece that David wrote, you'll actually end up on the Delicious Brains website. And it's comparing the 4 best local WordPress development environments. So it's comparing XAMPP, I'm sure I've got that right, but I could never be sure that I've got it right because I hear so many different people pronouncing it differently. MAMP, Local and Desktop Server. As always, it's one of those things where they compare things like for like and try to tease out which one's the best. And as always, kind of towards the end, it becomes obvious that, at the end of the day, it's up to you. You decide for yourself. But it does create a nice contrast, and if you're using one of these, you may be sort of getting disgruntled and thinking, I should definitely try something else. Everybody's talking about this other one. I personally am quite satisfied with Local at the moment, but having read this article, there's a few reasons why I might like to shift. Have a read, see what you think. Our next section is entitled Plugins, Themes and Blocks, and 3 bits of news for you today. The first one is again WordPress Tavern. This is Sarah Gooding writing about Unsplash launches official plugin for WordPress. I'm pretty sure that if you've been designing on the web for any length of time, you've tried to find a basically free image to put on a website so that you didn't contravene any licensing problems. Well, Unsplash is a pretty good place to go for those. And they've launched an official WordPress plugin with the team at XWP. The idea here is that you install the plugin and then you have immediate access inside the block editor to their 1 million plus high resolution free images. The nice thing here is it will also bring across all of the metadata. So, for example, the attribution of the photographer and so on, which can be lost with rival plugins. They hope that the way that they've got it set up with their API means that it will work more quickly. And they also have support for dynamic image URLs so that you can have things downloaded which adapt correctly to the device connection screen size. So that's good. You can freely download this. It's available now. It's interesting. The article goes on to talk about the pricing model, and it would seem that Unsplash is going to go down the lines of some rival services where they have paid for offerings which are given priority at the top of the page. Be interesting to see how that works with the plugin. Anyway, the point being, if you like free images and you like Unsplash, well, there is now an official WordPress plugin to enable you to put them into your Gutenberg posts. Lovely stuff. This one is interesting. I confess I've not really used this, nor have I really seen this deployed much in the wild. But Google have released a beta version of their stories for WordPress. Now, the only way to describe this is to go and have a look. If you're familiar with stories, there's probably nothing new here, but stories are kind of mobile optimized images with text on the top, and the whole premise of them is that they create a visually compelling little story. So it immediately goes from one full screen mobile image and moves on to the next after a period of time, and there's animations and so on and so forth. This whole thing is WYSIWYG. You get to install the plugin, and from there you get this really quite nice interface with panels on the left to alter the text sizing and so on, and then panels on the right to amend colors and things like that. So you can add shapes and all sorts. Basically, it's a full-on tool for creating mini web pages which scroll from one to the next, and that's what the story is. So it's completely in beta. It's quite funny. They do say, we're not quite ready for prime time yet, but if you like to live dangerously, we invite you to try our first public beta. So who knows, this may well be something that sticks around. I can sort of see this having a bit of a shelf life and not being all that important maybe a couple of years from now, but new project, interesting idea, maybe go check it out. We've talked about the Page Builder framework various times. This is from the Page Builder framework, but there's more to it than that because they've decided that they're going to offer an agency bundle. So this is a way that you can save if you're using David Von Gries's products. So, for example, he has the Page Builder framework premium add-ons. He also has a plugin called Ultimate Dashboard Pro, which enables you to customize your WordPress dashboards with things like page builders and all sorts of other options. And then he also has a little plugin called Swift Control Pro, which allows you to have some floating buttons on pages of your website so that it makes it easier for clients to get to the areas of your WordPress install that they need to get to and not have to fiddle with the admin quite so much. Well, previously, if you'd bought these three plugins together, you would be paying $244, but he's decided to bundle them up and offer them at $168. You get 1 year of support and updates, but it's a nice way of, well, helping out the people who've helped him out, giving them reduced pricing. The next section is all about WordPress Deals. And as always, I link to two places. I link to our subscribe form where you can subscribe to our email should you wish to hear about deals as I hear about them. And also I link to our wpbuilds.com/deals page. There's a few new ones though in the show notes. The first one is to say that Essential Add-ons for Elementor has got a coupon code. You can get 25% off. There's also a booking system called Pinpoint World. That's got 20% off. And you can also avail yourself of 3 free months of Flywheel Hosting. We also link to the stuff which has been on for a few weeks: Qubely Blocks, Crello image editing, GiveWP, Breezy plugin and cloud, continually live chat quotas and happy forms. Most of those are WordPress and a few of them are lifetime deals of SaaS apps. Anyway, all the links are in the show notes. A light touch on security as always. I confess I've not heard of this plugin, but WordFence tells us that there is a high severity vulnerability patched in TC custom JavaScript. This plugin has over 10,000 installs, and this XSS vulnerability has been highlighted. From the notes, it would appear that it has been patched. They reached out to the developer but didn't hear anything back, but it looks like all is well, from now at least anyway. But if you're using this to put custom JavaScript onto your WordPress pages, then you really should go and update. The next one is the Vulnerability Roundup, this time brought to you by WebArcs. I like these ones because you can just scroll through and catch sight of the names of plugins and think to yourself, have I got that installed anywhere? So for example, I'm scrolling through and I've just seen TC Custom JavaScript. I'm also seeing all-in-one SEO pack, email verification for WordPress, and so it goes on. So you can quickly scroll through this, and thanks to WebArcs in this case's work, we're able to hopefully keep our websites up to date and secure. The blatantly WP Builds promotional bit now, just to say that David and I recorded a podcast episode. It was number 188, and we got into the subject of headless WordPress versus not headless WordPress. Now, I think both of us would confess to not really being experts in this field, but it's quite nice sometimes to push the boundaries, try to discover some new stuff. So we take the adversarial approach, one of us trying to stick up for headless, in my case, me, and David, therefore, trying to defend not using WordPress as a headless option. So we talk around that. There was actually an awful lot that came out of it, largely new to us, but all sorts of interesting ways that you could deploy headless. And so if that's your thing and you're looking at different solutions surrounding headless, maybe go and check that podcast out. Also to say that Sabrina Zidane and I, we had part 6 of our 0 to 10k install sessions. We're doing these live on a Tuesday, as I mentioned, and we've reached part 6. Today, we were carrying on the conversation that we started about documentation, which it turns out can be more useful than you think. We talk about the fact that it could be used really as an SEO piece, a piece to draw people in to your product or plugin in this case, and alert them on a simple SEO Google search for something that your product exists, that it meets a need. We've seen many players in the WordPress space doing this, and so we discussed that. The link in the show notes leads you to the archive where all 6 of the episodes so far have been put. We're not doing one this week because I'm going to be away on holiday, as I said, but we'll be back in 2 weeks' time. Next up, we've got jobs. I've only got one for you this week, but it's over at Kinsta, who is actually a sponsor of the podcast, you may have noticed. Kinsta have a position for an affiliate program coordinator. They say we're looking for an experienced and highly knowledgeable affiliate program coordinator to take our affiliate program to the next level. There's obviously a link in the show notes and a full job description, including what you'd be expected to do, what you would be expected to get in return as well. Also, I'd like to say that if you click on the link in the show notes, you'll get to our jobs section. There's a button in there to post a job, but if you want to create a job on WP Builds for a WordPress job, you can go to wpbuilds.com/post-a-job, or if you hover over the menu jobs in the main navigation, there's a post a job link which comes up when you hover. So yes, please make use of that. It's completely free. That's all the WordPress news I've got for you this week, but wait, don't go away. We've got 3 things in our not WordPress, but useful anyway section. The first one is, oddly, back over at WordPress Tavern, because Google delays mobile first indexing deadline to March 2020, tells Sarah Gooding, and this is probably good news. They cite the fact that we have been through, uncertain times as a reason for delaying this. They were due to roll out mobile indexing first in September 2020, but that, as I say, has been delayed until March 2021. Google urged site owners to pay close attention to several important issues, and I quote, "Robots meta tags on mobile version should match the desktop version, or Google may fail to index or follow links on the page. Do not lazy load primary content based on user interactions like swiping, clicking, or typing, because the Google bot doesn't trigger these interactions. Avoid the bad practice of using smaller images on mobile to fit the smaller screen. Small and low quality image will not be favorably indexed. Ensure content on the mobile version matches the desktop, since only the mobile version will be used for indexing and ranking in search. And include meaningful alt tags for images." So there's quite a lot to be taking in. Obviously, Google have given us a bit of slack because of the fact that, they've been uncertain times, but you've been warned. March 2021 is the deadline to get your site mobile ready first for search. Tin foil hats at the ready, please, because AI is about to get quicker. The Independent tells us that machines can learn unsupervised at the speed of light after AI breakthrough, scientists say. Well, who'd have thought that things could be considered to be slow in terms of AI development, but allegedly they're not going quickly enough because we want to speed things up. And it turns out that simply by using electricity, let's just call it that, that has been a limitation in the speed at which things can be processed. It would appear that the guys over at George Washington University have taken this challenge on, and they've instead decided to approach it by using light instead of electricity. Now, it all gets very complicated. I don't really claim to understand it, but they say, quote, "We found that integrated photonic platforms that integrate efficient optical memory can obtain the same operations as tensor processing units, but they consume a fraction of the power and have higher output." Basically, things just got quicker, and it's all to do with the fact that these guys have decided to use light. So our robot overlords just got a little bit closer. The last one today is entirely frivolous. If, like me, you've been working from home for a long time, but you've been largely left to it, you may, during these uncertain times, have had to share your space in ways that you didn't do, perhaps with children or other family members. And at various times, it's probably caused irritation because you want to let everybody know that you're busy. In my case, doing a recording. In your case, doing some work. But people don't really know that you're busy unless you somehow tell them. Well, over on Indiegogo, somebody's obviously had exactly the same problem. They've designed a remote control, and when I say remote control, you can control it with your phone. You stick this little box somewhere in your house, and it's an LCD screen, and it displays whatever message you want it to display. So it could go, for example, in the hall of your house, or perhaps in your kitchen, and it could say, "I am recording," or "I am busy, do not disturb." There's two options. There's an option just to turn a light on and off, and it will simply display a pre-formatted card that you slide in front of the light, which may say recording or busy. Or you can buy a more expensive version, which allows you to create images to go on the LCD, so you could include emojis or any text that you like. So perhaps this is the solution. Certainly seems popular. It's got 1,300% of its initial goal. So clearly, this is solving a real-world problem. Okay, thank you for joining us for the WP Builds Weekly WordPress News. I really appreciate it. If you've got any comments, please do make them. You could do that at the bottom of the post itself. We use Facebook comments for that. Or come to wpbuilds.com/Facebook. That's our Facebook group. Please join in over there and make your comments because we post everything as well. Very much appreciate any comments, and I'd like to know if we can do better. The WP Builds Weekly WordPress News was brought to you today by Kinsta. Kinsta takes managed WordPress hosting to the next level. Powered by the Google Cloud Platform, your site is secured like Fort Knox and runs on speed obsessive architecture. You get access to the latest software and developer tools such as PHP, 7, SSH and staging environments. And the best part, their expert team of WordPress engineers are available 24/7 if you need help. You can try a demo for free. That's 60 days you'll get at kinsta.com. And A/B Split Test. Do you want to set up your A/B split tests in record time? The new A/B split test plugin for WordPress will have you up and running in a couple of minutes. Use your existing pages and test anything against anything else. Buttons, images, headers, rows, anything. And the best part, it works with Elementor, Beaver Builder and the WordPress block editor. You can check it out at absplittest.com. We will be back on Thursday for a podcast episode. We'll be back next Monday for a news episode, like the one you're listening to now. We shall not be back on Tuesday with Sabrina Zidane and I, because, as I said, I'm on holiday. But Paul Lacey will be leading the WP Builds Weekly WordPress News live this week with Sabrina Zidane, Akshat Chowdhury and Kirsty Burgoyne. Join them at 2 p.m. UK time on Monday, wpbuilds.com/live. Okay, see you soon. Bye-bye for now.